This is the X-Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
All Hit Radio.
Welcome to the X-Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
And welcome to the X-Zone, everyone. My name is Rob McConnell. It's a Friday night. I hope everybody has a super weekend this weekend. There's only 1, 2, 3 weekends left in the summer. Oh my gosh. Well, I consider July and August being summer, Craig. I know that it goes until the 21st of October. So kids are getting ready to school. Laura and I went out today and passed by Staples and all the clothing stores and just inundated with moms and dads getting ready for that time of year again when peace and solitude comes back to many households when the kids go back to school. I remember those days well. Exonation, my first guest tonight is a lady we've had the pleasure of having on the show before. Karen Noé is her name. She is a renowned New Jersey-based psychic medium, spiritual counselor, and healer with a 2-year waiting list. Now, she is the author of Your Life After Death, A Medium's Guide to Healing After Loss, and Through the Eyes of Another, A Medium's Guide to Creating Heaven on Earth by Encountering Your Life Review Now. She is the founder of the Angel Quest Center in Ramsey, New Jersey, where she teaches classes, gives readings, and practices alternative healing. Her website, www.karennoe.com. That's KarenNoe.com. And Karen, welcome back to the X-Zone.
Hi, how are you tonight?
I am just doing great, Karen. It's always so much fun and such a pleasure having past guests and past friends like yourself coming back here to tell us what they've been up to since we last talked.
Yes, I've been on twice before.
Yes,
so
you
this
have.
Is the third time.
Yeah.
Very excited.
So let me see. Tell me about your new book, Your Life After Death, A Medium's Guide to Healing After a Loss.
Well, I've been practicing mediumship for many years now, and a common message that comes through is that the loved one who has passed is okay, and they just want the living loved one to be okay, too. So I hear this time and time and time again. I said, this is very important. It helps in the healing of the person who is living to understand that their loved one truly is okay. It's total bliss where they are on the other side. However, when I do the readings, I do incorporate healing in addition to doing the readings. And there's different methods that help the living loved one, if you could follow, to feel better, such as tapping. And I talk about all different modalities in the book. And I said, I really have to get this out there because I see the difference. It's remarkable that the people are healed. They've been in therapy many years, and then they've done some of these modalities, and they're healed within 10 minutes.
You and I were talking before we went to air, and as I was saying to you, it seems that there are so many people, more and more people, are seeming to worry about what happens to them after they die. And you said, basically they really don't have anything to worry about.
Oh, no, it's total bliss. It's total, you're one with God. We're one with God right now, but we don't feel that connection because we have this body, and we're worried about worldly concerns and everything. So they really are a total bliss. They could be wherever they want to be. They're able to see the bigger perspective on things.
Right.
Why certain things happen where we can't see it right here, and forgiveness is everything. It's complete love. So there's nothing to worry about.
Karen, with all the messages that you've received over the years being a medium and helping people at a very, very sad time in their lives, what kind of messages do you get from the other side? Are they basically the same, like, everything's okay, I'm okay over here, or are there more personal and deeper meanings, messages at times?
It's very detailed messages, and that's what you would want if you go to a medium. Make sure, if you have to wait a few years, there's a reason for that, because they really are getting the messages from the deceased loved ones. It should be something that the medium wouldn't know, something very personal, like a boxing kangaroo. I have a lot of stories about that, different stories. But when they receive the messages, a common message, if you're looking for that, is they're able to see, as I said before, the bigger perspective,
right,
and see through our eyes why we did what we did. So there's no forgiveness needed. Maybe on our side we should say, okay, we should forgive now. Let's put it a different way. Instead of waiting till we pass, when we go through a life review, we should try to forgive people now. Try to see the bigger perspective, try to ask forgiveness from people, and tell everyone how much we love them now. Because that is a common message from those who've passed. They say they should have, could have, would have said how much they loved the living loved one more, and now it's too late. But the personal messages are really what does it for the person, the people in my office. Usually it's their name, the person's name, something that only the two of them would know, and things like that. It's a healing experience. But this is the best part. You don't have to go to a medium, and that's why I wrote the book. You don't have to go to a medium to receive messages from those who passed. They're giving messages to us all the time. We just have to learn how to receive the messages that they're giving us. We expect to see an apparition of what they looked like or hear an audible voice. But in reality, they don't have a body, so they're speaking to us in our thoughts all the time. And how do you tell the difference between their thoughts and yours? You would, something that just pops in your head for no reason. That's what I tell them. Something like, what the heck? Why did I think that? That's how they talk to you. And the reason why a medium is good in this aspect is because they don't know. A lot of times we second-guess ourselves. We say, well, that's my thought.
Right.
But when a medium says something that their loved one typically said or did, or something that they shared together, then they know it's not their own thought. So it's just a confirmation of what their loved one is truly saying to them.
Karen, where was your start? When did you first know, as a young girl, that you were able to communicate with the other side, and how did you feel about that?
That's a good question. Well, it's a little complicated. When I was younger, my father used to take me to the racetrack, and I'd pick the winning horses for him, things like that. I was more psychic. That's different than being connecting with those who passed. And then about 20 years ago, I went through a very hard time in my life, and I just sat at the edge of my bed and I yelled at God, and I said, "Am I going to be okay?" And with that, I saw a light that came towards me from the other side of the room, and I immediately said, "If you're not of God, please leave." But the more I said that, the more it kept coming towards me, and eventually it enveloped me. An incredible peace came over me. I heard an audible voice at that time that said, "Lucia Lucina, Bella Lucia Lucina." And for the listeners who are Italian, that means light, little light, beautiful little light. I've since learned it was St. Francis of Assisi, and that's why all my books are pretty much, I have to throw in the peace in there, the peace and the love and the animals, no matter what I'm talking about. But since then, I started really receiving messages from those who passed, as well as the angels. And there is a difference between those who have passed and angels, in that the people who come through when they're, loved ones, they have a personality. If they were loud when they were here, they're loud after they passed. If they were quiet, the same thing. And angels just feel tremendous, enormous love, like so much more even than those who've passed. And those messages are usually very non-judgmental, and not that the deceased loved ones have judgmental messages, but it does feel differently. I didn't want to share these messages with people. That's what you asked. I did not. I didn't want people to think I was not in my right mind. But I saw, gradually I started giving messages to people. At first I started off just doing healing in the back of a hair salon. And I started receiving messages as I was doing the healing, and I didn't know whether or not to share, the messages with the people. For example, one of the first messages I ever received, I was doing Reiki, which is energy healing on a woman, and, someone was coming through. I believe his name was Robert, and he was telling me he died in a motorcycle accident. It was a long time ago. I can't remember. Yes, it was a motorcycle accident. And then he shows me a picture of a boxing kangaroo punching the air. I'm saying to him, in my thoughts, I am totally going crazy. I'm not telling her that because she's going to think I'm nuts.
Yeah.
But he kept it up, and he kept it up, and finally I said, okay, there's somebody here named Robert who was in an accident who passed, and he's showing me a kangaroo with boxing gloves on punching the air. And she sat up off the table, and she screamed. She said, my best friend, Robert, died in an accident, and he boxed kangaroos in Australia. So I said, oh, okay. I think I'll share, And I started, doing it a little bit more, because I was very shy before. I never spoke in front of people, and now I'm speaking to large audiences and everything. But gradually, now the reason why I love to do this is because it's not about me. It's about sharing with people how they can do it too, which is very important to empower them to understand how they can do this as well.
So anyone can communicate with the other side. Is it true that the other side also tries to communicate or make contact when in a person's dreams?
Oh, absolutely. That's a very good way of coming, because then they come as the way you remember them as. Whereas when they come to you as thoughts, you're not quite sure, are they really speaking to us? But when come to you in a dream, you feel as if you've won the lottery. I'm telling you, it just feels, sometimes they don't say a word, they come to you in a dream, but there are two different types of dreams, and I want the listeners to make sure they know the difference. One would be a dream of your subconscious of a loved one who's passed, which is not a true visitation. That would feel frightening. How they passed, the guilt involved, that is not a true visitation. A true visitation would be, you would feel, the loved one's there, they may say something that just makes you feel wonderful, their voice, their face, and they like to come back, by the way, as the age they like to be remembered as, usually, if they were older, around 35. I don't know why they pick that age, but it's usually around that age.
That's midlife.
Yeah, midlife. Yeah, sure. But I don't know. I love to. I actually, when my mom passed, I had a dream of her, which surpassed all the messages and signs that she gave me, and she's been giving me many signs. But seeing her in a dream, I needed to hear her voice one more time, so I asked her, and that's what I tell the listeners: ask your loved ones to come to you in a dream, and to wake you up after the dream so that you'll remember it, or else you won't remember it. So I asked her to come to me in a dream and to wake me up. No, I did not, actually. I asked my mother, I needed to hear her voice one more time. And I actually came home from work that day, and I just took a nap. And I had a quote-unquote dream, but it wasn't a dream. It was my mom. And in the dream, I was in a crowded room, and my mom's voice came over the loudspeaker, and she said, I have an important announcement. I am okay, and I love you.
Oh, wow.
And I said, oh, Mom, I love you so much. And even in the dream, I knew it was real. It was I just felt amazing in the dream. And I said, Mom, who are you with? And she said something that I didn't recognize. She, said it very quietly. And I said, Mom, what did you say? And she said, Nanny, who happened to be her mother.
Right.
The phone happened to ring, woke me up, and I was able to remember the dream. So it's important to wake up after the dream so that you remember it.
Having communicated with the other side, can you tell us what happens when we do die and why we shouldn't be afraid?
Okay. Well, first of all, it's complete love. As we are here on Earth, we are one with God and with everyone else, but it's hard to feel that connection because we are separated with a body. After you pass, you don't have that separation anymore. It's total love, total peace. There are many instances of people who have died and come back to talk about it. They're called near-death experiences, where it's complete love, and they talk about how they go through the tunnel, they see their loved ones. This is true. In the readings that, people who've come through, they're with their loved ones, with the animals, and they're not suffering anymore. They can be wherever they want to be with a thought. And people say, but what are they doing all day? And I'm not quite sure what they do all day, but there are schools there. They learn, they evolve, they're helping, in ways that they could never help us before. and helping the world in ways they never could before. So it really is a wonderful place. And people say, well, what about the people who are really bad? What are they experiencing? Well, I think I stated this before. They're able to feel how they have affected each person through their eyes, so they could actually feel how their actions affected people. And they'll have this bigger perspective of understanding that. It's not that throughout eternity they're going to be in a horrible place, with this knowledge. It's just, when we find out we should have done something, like we say now, oh no, I should have done this. So that's why when they come through, they'll say, I shouldn't have hit you with the mirror, I shouldn't have done this. They'll come through and say something like that. So.
What about reincarnation? Are we reincarnated? Do we come back? Or is this all dependent on a person's personal belief?
We choose. And again, this is from all the readings that I've done throughout many years. We choose whether or not we want to come back or not. And with the lessons that we need to learn, and say we need to learn compassion, then we'll come back in a life that we have to learn compassion. We usually come back with our family and friends, and I always tell people, you know what? If you have regrets with loved ones now, resolve the issues, because you're going to have to deal with this later on. Do it now and get it over with. I could take it a step further, but it'll be really way out there, but I'll say this vast universe, why would we keep coming back to Earth over and over and over? Okay. So there's so many places that we can come back to, and that, that is not a scary thing. It's actually a wonderful thing.
Karen, is it hard for you, because I gather from speaking to you this time and the other two times that you're a very compassionate person. You're very empathic. And, I believe you're the kind of person that wears your heart on your sleeve. So when a mother comes to you to communicate with their child who has passed,
yes,
how do you handle that?
That's a very good question. As a matter of fact, that's one of the most difficult to deal with when someone has lost a child.
Right.
I love to be in a position of helping them to understand that their child truly is okay with the messages that they bring, very specific. But that's where I teach them the healing modalities, and I'm trying to help them. But you're asking how I deal with it. It's difficult sometimes. I think that happens to be the worst case scenario, is with a mother and a child. So I have to step back and just try to help them, and in the best way that I can. It is difficult, yes.
How do you prepare yourself? Because it must be a strain on you to have to do these communications. So how do you prepare, and how do you prevent from bringing anything that might be negative from that side to this side?
Okay. Well, what I do to prepare is I meditate an hour before people come to see me, so that I empty my thoughts. And I don't want to hear from any loved one when I'm meditating, because I wouldn't be meditating. So I try to empty my thoughts. Sometimes I try to come through at that time. I just need that time to clear myself. And by the time the person gets here, I feel better. I do some certain exercises that I actually do talk about in Your Life After Their Death. One is called the Celtic Weave, that I actually weave my aura. It's an exercise.
Oh, wow.
So that you don't pick up other people's stuff. And it's very important, because I am very empathic. If I'm in a crowded place or in a restaurant, I feel everybody. So I cannot leave home without it. So I do that. And it's very helpful. And how do I not bring it home? Sometimes I do bring it home with me. There are a lot of ways to heal from that. There are sea salt baths, doing exercises, tapping, which I also talk about in the book, the emotional freedom technique. We have acupuncture points on our body that correspond to different issues. If we have a negative emotion, whether it be fear, anger, grief, any of those, they're stored in certain acupuncture points that you could actually tap on as you're experiencing the emotion, and it actually moves the emotion out and out. It really does. It's amazing. So I also do that. Is
this part of the tapping technique that you were talking about?
Yes.
Gotcha.
Yes. So it's not tap dancing. It's it's tapping the acupuncture points. The only way that this works, though, I tell people, is you have to experience the emotion as you're tapping, because I teach classes on this, and I see if somebody's just saying the words like, I am very upset, and they're tapping, I say, no, you're not. And I don't want you to be upset, but the way for this to really work is for you really to say what you mean and what you're feeling, tap on the points, and then the emotion actually moves out. It's amazing.
How with all the souls that must be out there, I can only imagine, that there are millions and billions and trillions. How do you find that one person that you want to connect with?
It's the intention. And I, when the person comes, they're bringing their own people, for the most part. So they leave with that person as well. So I'm not just taking it from a hat. They're coming with their loved one. And, and it's also the intention. Sometimes someone doesn't want to hear from a loved one, and then that person won't come through. Or on the other hand, sometimes they don't want to hear, and that loved one comes through, and with an apology or whatever. It's not random, though.
No,
It's the ones who need to come through the most are the ones who come through.
How close was the movie Ghost when Whoopi Goldberg played a medium?
Well, the part I laugh about in that one is when they all try to come in, then actually they come inside of her.
Oh, right.
All at once. I can't. Sometimes I walk through a mall.
Yeah.
And I don't know what it is, and I just walk through some kind of energy, and I don't know if it's a person or negative energy, and I actually feel it like coming in me, and I said, this is what Whoopi Goldberg feels like. And all I have to do is, please leave, and it leaves. Because, and I tell people this too, it's very important when you turn the light on, the darkness goes away. And it's true. It really is. It doesn't have as much power as a positive vibration. So that's all you have to do is call upon the angels, God, boom, gone.
What part in what you do the angels play?
The angels, I love that question, because when I first started doing this, the angels were everything. My first book, The Rainbow Follows the Storm, that's the one you interviewed me first.
Right, yeah.
It was about angels and, that. And then what happened is I got sidetracked with those who've passed because that's what people wanted to hear about. But then, and just as we were talking about, I'm going home feeling a little bit not so good sometimes because I'm depressed and feeling the sadness of the people.
Right.
Whereas when I'm with you talking about the angels and angel messages and uplifting things like that, I feel much better. So I was actually, this is a funny story. This just happened 2 days ago. I love to talk to the angels. And I just say, listen, I haven't been hearing you. I don't know what's going on. And I'm taking a walk with my dog. And this is in my head. I'm not speaking out loud. I don't know what's going on. And I'm like really upset. And I'm just boop, 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 boop. And as I'm talking, I just happened to look up, and there's clouds shaped like an ear with a finger in the ear. And I didn't understand what that meant at the time, but of course, now, anyway, it was an ear-shaped cloud with a finger in it. So I said, that's so silly. I'm saying to myself, and I walk home, and I sat down, and I said, oh, my God, they're saying they are talking to me.
But you're not listening.
I'm not listening. My emphasis is on people who've passed. So my next book, which I'm currently in the beginning stages of writing, I have to incorporate them again. It's a must.
What kind of messages would an angel give somebody? No, wait a minute. What kind of messages would an angel give to you to relate to someone who is sitting there in front of you who's asking for your assistance?
Well, a lot of times they would say something like trust. Everything's going to work out. I know. See, whereas the angel messages aren't as specific, sometimes they are.
Right.
Deceased loved ones will say names and things like that. An angel will give their name, for the most part, an archangel, their guardian angel's name. But they would say, they would never tell somebody to leave their spouse. They wouldn't, it would be a very gentle message, and it would come through in a different way. So, my dear child, just trust that this will all work out, or something like that. It will be a much more loving message, and sometimes it knocks you right over the head, like this cloud with the finger in the ear. Oh my gosh.
That wasn't very subtle, was it?
No, but I didn't get it. See, because I wasn't on the vibration with the angels at that time. I was yelling at them, and when you're yelling at somebody, you're not on a higher vibration. You have to raise your vibration in order to hear them.
Gotcha.
So, yeah.
The angels. It's one of my most favorite topics because I believe in angels. I've had examples happen in my life where there is no doubt in my mind that angels are real.
I'd love to hear it.
Yeah. Well, I'll give you one example.
Yeah.
Let me see. I must have been about 6 years old, and my brother was, I guess he was 1 or 2. And way back then, they had just started using canned baby food. And at this time, my mom opened up a can of baby food and was feeding my brother. He got violently ill. They rushed him down to the hospital. They dropped me off at my grandmother's. And my grandmother's house was the focal point for the entire family. So my grandmother, my uncle and aunt who lived there, and everybody came and everybody's concerned. My mom and dad were very worried that my brother was not going to make it because it was found out that it was ptomaine poisoning. The baby food was soiled. So everybody's in the kitchen talking, and I'm just a little guy. I don't really understand the significance of what's going on, but I know something bad is going on, and I'm worrying. In the kitchen, in the corner, there was a gentleman standing there, and it was love, and he just looked at me, and I got the message that everything was going to be okay. And I must have smiled or gave him some facial acknowledgement because my grandmother said, what are you smiling about? And I said, the man over there said everything was going to be okay. Of course, my grandmother looks, there's no one there. However, as soon as she looked, the phone rang. It was my mother, and everything was going to be okay.
Wow.
So I believe in angels.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I love that.
Have you yourself seen an angel?
I have seen lights. Instead of seeing like a being, I've seen deceased loved ones. But the angels, I see them as lights, and different color lights, or flickering like in a snow globe when you turn it over. It's like, that glittering. I don't know how to explain that. So that's how they appear. But it's more clairsentient rather than clairvoyant. Whereas clairsentient is feeling them and hearing, and clairaudient is hearing what they're saying. Yeah. Even though they don't speak in an audible voice.
But it's funny, I will never forget that day, that time, the appearance of this man. And, it's funny, there are things that happen in your life that you never forget.
Yes.
And this was one of those times in my life,
And you probably feel it as if it's happening right now. You could feel the emotion and all of that.
Yes, I can, yes.
That's how you... Yep. And that's what it's like after we pass. That feeling of love and light, and that's the angels are there to greet you. And it's just a wonderful experience. I'm not, when the time is right.
So tell me something. Why do you think people fear death so much? Is it because it's not talked about? It's taboo subject. It's something that we all dread, and because there's a lot of grief involved. Like, I've gone to Irish wakes, and I'll tell you something. They celebrate the life of the person who's passed. They play cards, they drink a lot. It's a good time, and most of society on the other hand, seems that the grieving process is more for those who have been left behind.
Yes.
And it seems that the negative or the way that most people grieve takes a lot longer to heal than those who look at a person who has passed and celebrate their life.
That's very true.
Yeah.
And that actually is a common message when people come through. Remember me how I lived, not how I died. And that is so true. I think people fear death because they don't know what to expect.
Yeah.
Or they're afraid of heaven and hell, the fire and brimstone,
The great beyond.
Yes.
Karen, you and I have to take a short message package here. Please stand by. Great talking to you. Thanks very much for coming on the show tonight. I love talking about angels.
Thank you.
Exo Nation, Karen Noé is our special guest. She's got a new book out. It's called Your Life After Their Death, A Medium's Guide to Healing After a Loss. And her website is www.karennoe.com. That's KarenNoe.com. And Karen and I will be back on the other side of this commercial set as we continue here in the X Zone from our broadcast center in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, and around the world on the X Zone Broadcast Network and the Starcom Radio Network. Don't go away. Ever wondered if your advertising dollar is really working for you? If your ad would have been here, you and more than 4 million people would be listening to it right now. Contact ads at xzoneradiotv.com. The ability to access the knowledge of the universe is much easier for us to access than we may believe. Brad Johnson, conscious matrix communicator, is one of these unique individuals who is able to access a strong connection to the universal mind. Through his connection, Brad has assisted thousands of clients from all over the world through natural intuitive assistance. The intuitive information received is vast, covering a wide range of subjects. Brad's innate ability includes being able to access one's own universal matrix to help them realize their potential to create a life of profound greatness. One-on-one private sessions with Brad Johnson are available to anyone from around the world. Brad is also a proficiently trained psychic, Akashic Records reader, an online spiritual teacher, founder of his own unique and powerful healing system, Body Regeneration Healing, as well as a professional conscious channeler in communication with his own higher self-consciousness known as Adronis. For more information or to book a service appointment with Brad Johnson, visit his website at www.consciousmatrix.com. That's www.consciousmatrix.com. Call him Reef. Reef is your host. Reef is your guide. Are you happy? Happiness is like trying to find water in the desert. Can you find any? Sometimes, sure, but only a few drops. God is an ocean of joy. But God is not cheap. You cannot find God in a chemical. You must attract God's attention. How? Not by living to please your senses. That is false ego. The Matrix is not real. It is a computer-enhanced hallucination. You are spirit soul, not the body. We have forgotten how splendid our home really is, the spiritual sky. For more information, visit rishasongofblue.com. That's www.reshasongofblue.com. Modern Esoteric, Beyond Our Senses by Brad Olson, consummates the lifeology story about where humanity originates. It is the lost continents, the primitive wisdom, the mythos of creation, and the rethinking of ancient history as we are taught in academia. There is much more to the story than what we have been told. As this is the first book in the Esoteric series, Modern Esoteric starts at the beginning of time and accelerates up to this modern age. Future Esoteric is book 2 in the series and takes a forward-looking position ahead of today with an open and honest examination of the ET issue and various unexplained phenomena. To discover the writings of author Brad Olson, visit www.bradolson.com. That's www.bradolson.com.
Wouldn't you love to know the secret to everything? Well then, meet Dr. Kimberly McGeorge and her cutting-edge breakthrough knowledge that combines science with possibility. Dr. Kimberly brings real-life answers and healing to those open to alternative solutions. She teaches solution-based programs and classes that will change all areas of your life forever. Specializing in conscious creation, intuitive readings, and energy medicine, you can rapidly shift health, relationships, business, and money and abundance challenges quickly. Receive her best-selling book, Secret to Everything, at no cost by going to secrettoeverything.com/X-Zone. That's right, transformation can start now. Just go to secrettoeverything.com/X-Zone and receive Dr. Kimberly's book for free.
Hi, this is Eric Rawls of Cosmoverse.com, and you're listening to Rob McConnell in the X-Zone.
Hi, this is Blade Runner, and you are listening to Canada's #1 paranormal radio show, The X-Zone, with Rob McConnell.
Hi, I'm Laura Sabrin of Cease to Fields Organic Vineyard in Jordan, and you're listening to Canada's #1 paranormal radio show, The X-Zone, with Rob McConnell.
Hi, my name is Lady Ashley, the White Witch of Niagara-on-the-Lake, and you're listening to Canada's #1 paranormal talk radio show, The X-Zone, with Rob McConnell.
Welcome to the X-Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
Welcome back, everyone. Karen Noé is our special guest this hour. www.KarenNoe.com, and that's KarenNoe.com. She's the author of Your Life After Their Death, A Medium's Guide to Healing After a Loss. When you're out talking, doing lectures, giving your classes, Karen, what are some of the questions that your audience or your students most frequently ask you?
Well, one of the most common is I teach people how to meditate. And many times, I always say, because meditating is listening, whereas praying is talking to God and the angels and your loved ones. And they always say, well, I can't quiet my thoughts, I don't know what to do, you know, and I teach them how to do that. They also ask the same questions you've been asking, you know, what happens on the other side? How can we connect with our loved ones? What type of signs do our loved ones give us? And that's one of my favorite topics as well, is teaching about the signs that they're giving everyone. It's not just me, Karen Noé. It's the signs that, first of all, ask your loved one to give you a sign, and then be open to receiving these wonderful signs that they give you.
What are some of the most frequent signs? Like you mentioned a few before, but...
Well, first of all, they do, as I said before, they place thoughts in our head. So we have to realize that that's the way they're coming to us. They come in dreams. They like to place common objects in our path, such as feathers or coins. And once you notice that you're receiving this type of sign, I would say get a jar or a bag and collect them. You'll see how many you're getting. Another one, a very common one, is they like to come through as an animal, a bird, a ladybug, a butterfly, or any other animal, to let you know they're around. Now, they're not always that animal, but they're able to use their energy to come inside of this animal to let you know they're there. The animal will do something it normally doesn't do, such as a bird pecking at your window or landing on you, a butterfly circling your face as you're talking about your loved one, and things like this, something that you cannot discount. You'll know, is this my loved one? Most of the time when people receive that type of message, they know that this is my loved one coming through. And the sign usually is in the personality of the loved one who passed. So if the loved one was loud, the sign will be big, if I could explain that, or if they were quiet, it will be subtle, and things like that. Other signs, they like to show us the same numbers over and over, like their birthday,
right,
or 1111, 222. A car will cut us off, and it's their birthday, their name. They like to play with electricity. They love to turn the lights on and off, or make things go, the TV turn off, things like that. They make buzzing sounds in our ears. When they come to us, they come on a different frequency. So when they're in, near us, we may feel that, hear the buzzing in our ears. So that's a time to quiet your thoughts, to allow them to speak to you. They give off fragrances. There's so many things. They make songs come on at the perfect time.
But
it's the message that you need to hear.
When you say they make songs come on at a certain time, like that's physically impossible.
Okay, you know how they do that?
No.
They work through the people who are they actually tell you, okay, turn the radio on now. Boom, you turn it on. There it is. There's the song. They make you walk. It's a feeling. Okay, go past, you're in the mall, go into the store, and there's the song that you need to hear. I don't know how they do it, to be honest, but it does happen. And I hear, signs like this all the time.
But how much of what you're hearing... No, I please don't take what I'm going to ask you the wrong way.
No, go ahead.
How do you know the stories that you're hearing from the people who tell you these stories, that it's not...
Their loved one.
That it's just coincidence, that it has nothing to do with an angelic...
Big. Okay, I'm going to give you an example so you understand what I'm talking about. It will be big. For example, my friend Marion passed. And she was very loud and sarcastic. And I'm saying this for a reason, because after she came through to me, it was the same way. So what happened is I love to write letters, and I tell my people who come to see me, write letters to your loved one, telling them how much you love them, if you need forgiveness, and just write it all down in a letter. And at the end of the letter say, and let me know that you're aware of what I have just written to you. Give me a sign to let me know that. So I did this to Marion. I told her how much I loved her and, all the things she's done for people and all of that. And I said to Marion, let me know that you're aware of this letter. 2 days later, I was putting letters in my mailbox, walked down my stairs to put the letters in my mailbox, and there's a bird in my driveway screaming, when I say screaming, at the top of its lungs, in the middle of the driveway, looking directly at me. Wow, like screaming. And I said, oh my God, Marion, is that you? And my neighbor is looking at me like he thinks I'm totally crazy, but I didn't care. The bird flew alongside of me, true story, walked towards the mailbox, landed on the mailbox as I was putting the letters in the mailbox. This doesn't normally happen. I had my cell phone in my pocket, and I called my son. I said, Tim, come outside. Marion's here. And he said, huh? I said, just come outside. I wanted him to see this.
Right.
And he witnessed the whole thing. The bird was screaming at me and just kept looking. And I said, thank you. This is not something that a bird would normally do. 2 days later, a mutual friend of ours, of Marion's, Carol, she called me and she said, you're not going to believe what Marion did. And I said, oh, I will. I'll tell you what she did to me. What'd she do to you? And she said, I just finished painting my kitchen. And I opened up the sliding glass door. A bird came flying in. Can I say this on the radio? Pooped all over the walls.
No, you can't. You can't say that.
I just said it. Oh well. And then flew out. And all Carol said was, "Thanks, Marion. We knew."
Yeah.
Because this is the type of personality she had. How did she do that? I don't know, but I do know that this is the type. Like it'll be something so.
Something that you can't deny.
Correct. Something that without a doubt. I call them without a doubt signs.
Now, I'm sure over the years you've had skeptics and non-believers who have turned.
They eventually believe.
Who have turned. And what are a couple of the stories you can share with us? Because I'm sure right now we have people who are saying, what are you guys talking about? So give us some examples of what they can expect.
Well, what I would say is it's not every single bird in the sky, it's not your loved one. It would be something unusual. Like if the bird lands on you, a bird doesn't normally land on you, or, a butterfly.
Sure.
I've had people who've come to see me who they're crying, they're asking their loved ones, are you around me? And a butterfly lands on them and things like that. And could I give you another example of something that
please
happened
do.
to me?
Please do.
Because yes, I'm very open to this, and I always ask my loved ones to come through. And that's the key. I would tell the listeners to make sure to ask your loved ones to come and give you a without a doubt sign. So my mom, again, she passed a few years ago, and right before Christmas, she loved to give, presents. She loved to give of herself. And it was around Christmas time when she was very ill. And she said, oh, Karen, 7 of us were around her hospital bed. She was in hospice. And she said, I wasn't able to get anybody a present. I don't know what to do. And then she's in and out of consciousness, and she actually says, Karen, do you have 7 singles, $7? I said, yeah. I had to collect it from people around me,
Sure.
but I eventually gave it to her. And she said, thank you very much. 1 second. And then she handed one to each person. She goes, 1 for you, 1 for you, 1 for you. And she just gave out all the 7s.
Oh.
And she looked at me in my face and right in my eyes, and she said, don't you worry, Karen. I'll give you this money back. I said, don't worry, Mom. It's really okay. Yeah. Don't worry about it. No. I'm going to give you the money back. Okay, Mom. Thank you. Well, she did pass a couple of weeks later, and I forgot all about what she said to me.
Right.
Okay, so I came into my office one day, and there's a $1 bill on the floor, and I forgot all about it. This is what the typical person, you just forget, you don't know. Yeah. I picked it up, and I put it in my pocket. Then I went into the other room, and there's a $1 bill there, and I said, okay, I am losing my money. It's coming out of my pocket, it's coming out of my bag. I don't know what's happening, but picked it up, put it in my pocket. At the end of the day, I went to my car, and there's a $1 bill there, okay? And then I heard, and when I say hear, I received messages telepathically, okay? It wasn't an audible voice.
Right.
She said, hello, sweetheart. I love you very much. I told you I would pay you back. I said, oh, my God, Mom, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Well, it continues. The best one was when a friend of mine who knew nothing about this $1 bill thing, she gave me a shadow box. And in the shadow box, she said, Karen, I know it's bizarre, but I felt like I had to put $1 in there. So, I mean, that's the type, and I have received $7 bills since then.
Wow.
So this is what I'm talking about. It's very specific, something that normally wouldn't happen, and it's not just with me. Because once I bring this to the attention of people, they come to me and they say, oh, my gosh, I've received feathers, I received coins,
right.
You know, all of this, ladybugs, you know, all this type of thing. I smell them. I smell their perfume. I smell their cigar smoke, that type of thing.
Well,
so it's, yeah.
That's as much evidence as you could ever ask for.
Yes. And it's, again, everyone can do it. That's the best part.
What would you like to tell our listeners around the world who have lost a loved one about how best to heal and to move on with their lives?
Okay, well, first of all, they have to know that their loved one truly is okay. And I would tell them their loved ones want them to move and step forward and be happy again. It's important to get out again in the world. You're not disrespecting your loved one by doing that. They see the bigger perspective. They don't want you to grieve. They're okay. You know, I would tell them to learn different techniques that I talk about in the book, such as tapping, affirmations, and also go to somebody who does Reiki or learn Reiki, better yet, and, you know, practice on yourself. I would say get rid of guilt because they see the bigger picture now. So no more guilt, no more regrets. Stop that. I tell them that. I would say keep their memory alive. Do things in their memory, whether it is setting up a fund for them or speaking about whatever they died from, just to keep their memory alive. But the most important is it's okay to be happy again. They truly are okay, and they want you to be too. That's what I would tell them.
We've got about 3 or 5 minutes left, my producer is telling me. So I'd like to talk to just a few seconds about your second book that we talked about briefly, A Medium's Guide to Creating Heaven on Earth by Encountering Your Life Review Now.
Okay.
How do we do that?
Oh, that's a very good question. Now, the reason why I wrote this book, as we discussed before, a lot of the messages that come through to me is they come through and they say, I should have, I could have, I would have done this differently, but now it's too late. And they're coming through saying they're sorry, how much they love their loved ones, and all of that. Hearing this time and time again, I said, I have to write a book about this. Why do we have to wait until we pass to go through our life review? Why don't we do it right here and now and try to see through the other person's eyes? Okay, and how do we do that? A great way to do that is to write a letter to them. You don't have to mail it, so don't get scared. If it's someone you're having problems with, you don't have to do that. But there's different types of letters, such as forgiveness, asking their forgiveness or forgiving them, telling them how much you love them, things like that. It has to be a positive letter. The reason why I say a letter, it's because you could take the time to see through their eyes why they did what they did, or trying to get them to understand through your eyes why you did what you did. All positive. So imagine you're at the end of your life, you're looking back and you're seeing how you would have affected people, trying to really understand it, and sit there and write a letter to all the people in your life that you would want to know how much you love them, and forgiveness and all of that. Truly, such a healing exercise.
Right.
I had one woman who actually, I did an experiment, and we all wrote these types of letters to our loved ones, and she had been going to a therapist for many years, and she wrote these letters to her loved ones, and the therapist said to her, you don't have to come back anymore, because what happened, the letter did in 1 month what years of therapy couldn't even come close to. So it really is a healing experience, and I would encourage everyone to go through this type of experience, to see through the other person's eyes.
Now tell me about the courses you give.
Okay, well, I give a lot of courses at my center. How to Connect with Angels and Deceased Loved Ones is one of the most popular, and that's packed. I have, a waiting room that only fits 40 people, so I have to actually turn them down.
Where is it located? Where is
I'm
it?
in Ramsey.
Okay.
Ramsey, New Jersey.
Right.
You could see my class schedule on my website, KarenNoé.com, for those who are in the New Jersey, New York area. But I will be traveling. I will be in Orlando, Florida for the I Can Do It event with Hay House in September. And I will be at the ARE, the Association of Research and Enlightenment, the Edgar Cayce Center in Virginia Beach in November, for a weekend with other mediums, just speaking about life after death and how to heal. So that's going to be a very great weekend, a good weekend as well.
Is science getting any closer to proving that communication with the dead is possible?
I sure hope so, but it's very scientific. I tell people who are very science-oriented that energy doesn't begin and it doesn't end. So what happens to the body, to your spirit then after you pass? If it doesn't begin and doesn't end, it continues.
Yeah.
So that's very important to acknowledge.
Karen, I want to thank you so much for joining us tonight. It's been a great pleasure talking to you. I wish you much continued success. And you know what I love about you?
What?
You're healing people. You're mending hearts. And that's a wonderful thing for anyone to do. So thank you so much for that.
Thank you.
Take care of yourself, Karen, and I hope we have the pleasure of talking to you again in the near future.
Thanks for having me on.
Take care, Karen. Continued success, my dear. Bye-bye. Exo Nation, that was Karen Noé, KarenNoe.com is her website. And she is the author of, Your Life After Death, A Medium's Guide to Healing After a Loss. And her other book that is coming out is, A Medium's Guide to Creating Heaven on Earth by Encountering Your Life Review Now. I'll be back on the other side of this commercial set, and for those affiliates and networks that take the news, I'll be speaking to you after your national news breaks. This is the X Zone. I am Rob McConnell. We're coming to you from our broadcast center in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Worldwide toll-free, 1-800-610-7035. My email address is xzone@xzoneradiotv.com. On all social media sites, X Zone Radio TV. And you can listen to the X Zone 724-365 at www.xzoneradiotv.com or our broadcast feed line at www.xzbn.net. Don't forget, Wednesday, September 30th, 8 p.m. until 10 p.m. Eastern, the UFO debate of the century. Stanton T. Friedman debates with Michael Horn, the North American representative of the Billy Meyer Group. They're going to be debating the Billy Meyer story. It's that plain, it's that simple. I'll be back on the other side of this news break and commercial break as we continue here in the X Zone from our broadcast center in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. My name is Rob McConnell. Don't go away.